Hi there. Sherry Schreiber of GettingBetter.com with some more naked truth for you. This is regarding your relationship choices, especially if they've been patternistic for you. Every single person who's called me for assistance, for help, since I started writing about borderline personality disorder, I don't know, maybe a dozen years ago. And my writing started with blackmailed into fatherhood, borderline women and men who love them. That was my very first article on BPD. Was inspired by a client who was entrapped into fatherhood as a very, very young man by a borderline. And frankly, I never ever expected to write anything beyond that one article. Never even occurred to me. And prior to writing that article, I never thought I'd write anything about that disorder because I didn't really know enough about that disorder. Schooling doesn't teach us anything about borderline personality disorder issues or people who have them. At least when I went back to school nearly 30 years ago, it didn't teach me anything about it. I mean, I had an instructor who said, buy this textbook, read this textbook, and if you say to me, you've read this textbook, I think it was by Masterson or somebody like that, Understanding the Borderline Personality, something like that. If you say you read this textbook, I will pass you in this class. But no discussion on BPD was had in that class. I can't even remember the name of that class or why I was taking it. But no education was given about this disorder. None whatsoever. Not in my undergraduate studies, not in my graduate studies. And I went back to school at 41. So I think it's really tragic that probably the most prevalent and predominant social ill all over the globe, is a global issue, is not talked about in context of maybe abnormal psychology classes. Stupid. Unbelievable. It's not in the curriculum. At least when I went back to school, it wasn't. Maybe things have changed a little. One can only hope. So without fail, every person who's called me for help because they're bleeding from every pore in the aftermath of one of these relationships or even in the midst of one, has said to me, your articles describe my relationship to a T. I mean, down to the very most minute detail. It's like you were a fly on the wall in my relationship. I feel like I could have written this article based on my own personal experiences with this person. Well, I'm always overjoyed to hear that, because it means that the hundreds, maybe thousands of stories I've listened to already that were so incredibly parallel to each other, that were so identical in nature down to the last minute detail, I've transcribed them well into these articles. But I never expected to write about this. Never. Blackmailed into fatherhood kind of, it's kind of like the sky opened up and just rained clients on my head after I posted that article to the internet. And of course, it's gone through numerous edits and revisions and expansions since then, but holy cow. I mean, I was working with a lot of people who were struggling with panic attacks and anxiety back then, before this article hit the internet. And I actually naively thought that might just be my vehicle that's how I would be known, and what I would be known for is working to help people dismantle their panic attacks. And I was very successful with that. But anyway, I digress. These people who call me, I say to them, first of all, how old are you? And if they say I'm 20 something or I'm 30 something, I allow for the possibility this might be their first romantic excursion. If they say I'm 50 or 60 something, I know this isn't their first rodeo with a borderline. I know that their dating history has included these types of individuals over and over and over and over again. Oh, but nobody was like this. Nobody put me in this much pain. Well, darling, your higher self has been wanting to get your attention for a long, long time on places in you that need repairing, like poor self-worth. So it's allowed these people to come into your sphere and dance with you for a while. And if they didn't put you in this kind of excruciating pain, maybe the next one that came along that you jumped on like white on rice would. Maybe the next one would get under your skin deep enough to highlight these core insecurities of yours, making it being with somebody who made you feel ashamed and not good enough and not lovable right after the honeymoon phase of that relationship ended. In any event, your higher self has been wanting this healing for you for a long time, probably since you were a very young child. And you've never gotten it. You've just built defenses, you've just built coping strategies to deal with emotional pain. But you've never gotten the kind of attention and healing you've needed to resolve it so that you wouldn't be attracted to this type of individual. Choosing a BPD partner is second nature for a whole lot of people. Why? Because there's always a childhood template in our life for growing up not feeling understood, for trying to talk about our feelings and needs and not having our parental unit or units really comprehend what we were saying to them. For feeling like when we tried to explain something as children or as teenagers, it fell on deaf ears or it got twisted around. We were made to feel ashamed or guilty for thinking that way, feeling that way, expressing that opinion or whatever. We felt gaslighted. We felt manipulated. Because basically, there were no adults in our house. These people who were supposedly our mother and father, our parents, who were supposed to understand us. That was their job, to understand us. We had to work very hard to be understood by them. We thought it was our fault we weren't communicating clearly enough or succinctly enough to be understood by them, to have them comprehend what we were trying to put forth, put across, help them know about us. We wanted them to see into us. Remember, in one of my other videos, intimacy is intimacy. If your own fucking mother or father doesn't see into you and understand you and comprehend you, who can? How can you go through the rest of your life feeling understood, known? How can you ever trust that somebody gets you? And that you don't have to explain yourself 30, 40 times just to get your ideas across. Or have somebody understand what you're really meaning and be hypervigilant about that with them. And how we do anything is how we do everything. So if you find yourself in your life doing this with a partner, a lover, a friend, a relative, a sibling, your parents, it's not your fault you're not understood. It's that you're used to being around people who have no capacity for comprehension and understanding and connecting the dots on what you tell them. None. You automatically assume that's your fault because you're facing this frustration every day of your life. It's not your fault. I've had Einsteins in my practice. My consulting business has had Einsteins in it, very incredibly bright individuals, both male and female. But there's developmental arrest there on an emotional level because they never had their brilliance mirrored, appreciated, understood, codified, validated by their parental units, who were stuck in a concrete level of emotional development and had to be spoken to like they were 3 or 4 years old. This is tragic. This is a tragic outcome for a child. This is tragic. I was lucky. I had an impaired mother. She had schizophrenia. But boy, when she was lucid, she was bright. She got me. She knew exactly what I was saying to her, and she could connect the dots. And I felt understood by her. And like she took interest in me and what I was feeling and what was happening to me. By the grace of God, I had that. Now, it was intermittent because her lucid periods were intermittent for me. So in between the kind of crazy off-kilter times, I was understood by her. Those were gifts. Those were just valuable, incredible gifts to me that my mother got me. She understood me. She had comprehended things I'd say to her. And she retained information from conversations I'd had with her years earlier. It was just amazing to me and so nourishing. But, as I say, these were intermittent episodes. My father was a wise man. Maybe not as bright as my mother. Wasn't as articulate as my mother, but wise, smart, street smart. So I could make myself understood by him as well. I was lucky. But a lot of people who've come through my consulting practice did not have the advantage of this. So they grow up and they marry somebody who doesn't get them at all. Just doesn't get them. I've known grown men that I've worked with to help them finally heal from one of these relationships with a borderline who related to me. I just break down crying. I was so frustrated at not being able to get through and have her understand me and have her see my sincerity. And that I wasn't out to hurt her or undermine her in any way. All I wanted to do was love her. And women have done the same with me, who've hooked up with borderline disordered males. And there's an article at gettingbetter.com on the borderline male. I have, in fact, written 23 articles in total on BPD. Astounds even me. I've never been that prolific, ever. especially with one topic. Never have I been that prolific. But I couldn't. The truth is, after blackmailed into fatherhood and more people were calling me, I could not stop writing about this disorder because I was gathering more information all the time. And these stories that were being related to me were identical down to the very last minute detail. I just had a knack for transcribing all that information that was told to me over and over again by different people. And that's really, I think, been the secret to my success, is just putting these thousands of stories into written form and addressing this borderline personality disorder issue from as many different angles and perspectives as was possible. And you'll notice each one of my articles is just a slightly bit different, gives you a slightly different bent on it. Because it's impossible to put it all in one article or book, even. It's impossible. One of the articles I'm most proud of that will probably be published as a book one of these days, hopefully before I'm hairless and toothless, is the borderline personality client. In this article, I write about what it's been like to work with these people and inserted some of my understanding about this disorder, both on an interpersonal private life issue and what I saw in my clients week to week. Now, I don't work with borderline personality disorder, contrary to a lot of people's belief. I'm not a psychotherapist. I never wanted to work with the disorder, but I have wanted to help all my clients build self-worth. And I've done that through gifting them self-worth building tools, which I've required that they use diligently and hypervigilantly in order to help the little boy or girl heal inside so that they could grow into their chronological ages and not have to deal with this emotional retardation the rest of their life. I've also helped them learn how to tolerate and endure difficult feelings in their body, emotions, sadness, depression, grief, envy, jealousy, shame, all kinds of emotions in the body, rather than going up into the head to analyze those feeling states and apply meaning and reasons to them. Haven't let my clients do that. If they want to do that, they belong in the psychotherapist's office, not here with me. So in working with clients, these two ways help them learn to tolerate difficult and painful feelings in the body and deep breathe and self-soothe into those feelings and just endure them and overcome their fear of them to where one day it's like, oh shit, here comes that feeling again, but no big deal. I know how to soothe it now. I'm not going to get scared of it. I'm not going to drink it away, eat it away, fuck it away, whatever. I can tolerate these feelings. That's what spawns emotional growth and development. And also, let's build self-worth. I need you to use these self-worth building tools that I offer in my videos diligently, daily, hypervigilantly, so that you can resolve the negative tape that plays 24/7. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm a piece of shit. And you're constantly beating yourself to a bloody pulp every minute of every day of your life. And that's what sets you up for being low-hanging, ripe fruit that's ready to be plucked from a tree by a personality disordered partner. Oh yes, the beginning phase, the honeymoon phase is magnificent. We all love that part. Falling in love. It's not really that, it's infatuation. Because under the adoring gaze of a desirable other, we finally, oftentimes for the first time in our life, start to feel like maybe I am lovable after all. Maybe I am good enough after all. Look at this magnificent creature just worshiping at my altar. And we start to let ourselves believe that maybe our parents didn't have the right idea about us after all. And then when they start dropping you on your head, it's the same feelings of shame and unworthiness and self-loathing that you grew up with because you had parents that were incapable of loving you correctly and well enough. So when somebody called me during the course of my working career before my retirement and said to me, "Help! I'm in utter despair," I asked them, one, how old are you? Just to get a kind of a frame of reference for how long they've been doing this shit and making these kinds of choices. And two, I said to them, have all your relationships felt like this? No, in fact, I was married for 13 years to a wonderful guy. I mean, he just adored me. I was married for 13 years to that wonderful guy. And he was sweet and adoring and generous and kind and giving. And I said, what happened to that relationship? Why did you surrender, do you think, that relationship? Well, I got bored. Oh, we grew apart. There was no passion or excitement for me there. Right. How about your dating experiences? How about the gals or the guys who came along for you that were healthy enough and had healthy enough boundaries to take their time getting to really know you before they jumped between the sheets with you? They took their time vetting you, getting to know you, see you in different circumstances, to see if you were a safe bet for them to give their heart over to before they sexualized the relationship with you. What about the ones that were consistently calm, nurturing, loving, kind, thoughtful, generous with you? What happened to those people? I didn't feel much passion for them. Well, of course not. It's not what you grew up with. It's not what you grew up with. So it didn't fit your blueprint. Didn't fit in with what you believe you deserve on a very, very, very deep, embedded level because you were taught to hate yourself as a child and feel unlovable. And always try to buy people's love and affection and attention and admiration and acceptance rather than knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were intrinsically lovable. This is why you finally ended up with a borderline personality disordered person who got so deep under your skin that they were able to put you in the kind of agony you're in right now so that you'd have no choice but to try and find the help you need to repair yourself. And when I'm talking about repairing yourself, you've got to find a qualified, competent professional who's able to help you learn how to do that. In my experience, a lot of these people that came to me had already tried psychotherapy. They might have gained some insights to overcome this craving for their ex, but it didn't resolve the craving. It didn't put that pain away. It didn't heal their pain. And my work attempted to do that. And in many instances, I was thankfully successful with people. But it was really about teaching them how to connect with self and build a genuinely empowered and healthy and nourishing relationship bond with themselves, so that they no longer equated love with pain and pain with love, which they'd learned to interpret as children. We pop out of the womb loving our mother. We pop out of the womb, we form an intimate bond with her in utero. I talk about this in my article, Do You Love to Be Needed or Need to Be Loved? I talk about this in my borderline personality client article. This in utero bond we form with our mothers. So before we're even born, we're in love with that woman. It takes a lot to shake us out of that tree. It takes a lot to kill that love off. It's the same with your borderline, isn't it? No matter how badly they treat you, don't you keep coming back for more? Well, we did that as children too. We did that as children too. So love for us as children, our definition of love as children really became all about this painful longing and yearning to have our affection and adoration returned. And that's a distorted definition for love, for what love actually is. It's a completely distorted definition. Painful longing and yearning have nothing whatsoever to do with love, unless you're addicted to country western songs or something like that. Painful longing and yearning have not a fucking thing to do with real and genuine love. Real, genuine love is never painful. It's never a deep, painful craving for somebody, because the one who loves you back is present. They're available. They're returning your love and affection and adoration and generous gestures. Doesn't set you up for that deep, painful, almost unbearable craving. Can't get enough, can't get enough, can't get enough. Give me more, can't get enough. Oh, you throw me a bone now and then, and I have these warm, fuzzy moments with you. And maybe it's on a weekend, or maybe it's on a little trip I take you on, or vacation we go on together. And things feel really connected and intimate for a moment. And then on the way home, you're breaking my balls again, stabbing me in the heart again. What happened to those wonderful, blissful moments of connection? Borderline can't tolerate those. Brings up too much anxiety for them. Borderlines are not afraid of abandonment, contrary to popular belief. They're not. They're not afraid of abandonment. They expect abandonment. They've grown to expect it from the time they were infants onward. Borderlines are not afraid of abandonment. What they're afraid of is feeling a little too close to you. They're afraid of attaching fully to you because you might see how despicably they see themselves. You might actually, in their mind, see how disgusting they are to themselves. And so they project that onto you. So if they get real close to you, if they really open up and you're able to see the soft, fleshy underbelly of their most endearing parts, they're afraid you will reject them. They are afraid of attachment, not abandonment. Abandonment's like breathing to them. They expect it. Hope this has been educational a little bit for you today. Hope this touches on your need to be needed reflexes, which you can read more about in Do You Love to Be Needed or Need to Be Loved? It's always at the top of my articles page at gettingbetter.com. It's going to be the first book I publish, and I'm doing final tweaking and editing on that piece right now as we convene here today. I'm here to educate you. I'm at heart an educator. I want you to know who you are as intimately as possible and get to a place of acceptance with all your flaws and shortcomings and areas of brilliance and strengths. And I want you to understand what drives all your relationship choices. This is the real nitty-gritty. This is the naked truth on that. So I hope you've learned something here today. You probably won't be able to take it in one viewing. Listen to it over and over and over again until you start to absorb and integrate what I'm talking about here. I talk about this stuff in my articles, my online articles. I didn't work with this stuff directly in my practice. I just gave you self-worth building tools. I just helped you tolerate your difficult, dark feelings and not be scared of them anymore so that you could grow emotionally and become a healthy, whole, genuinely empowered, self-liking, self-respecting individual. God bless you, and bye for now.